Hi gang, it's Mr. Corder, and by now you've probably realized I'm not at school today. And I'm sure you're excited to see a sub, but nope, unfortunately I've left you some work to do. I've videoed this presentation and you should be watching it in class today. I'm also going to make this available on YouTube, so the sub should have instructions on how to find it on YouTube, and that way if you look at it over the weekend, see if you want to study for your EOC test over the weekend, or for anybody who's not here today, you can download it on YouTube and check it out over the weekend as well. Your sub should have already passed out your papers, your answer sheets, and the first thing you probably noticed and probably freaked out a little bit about is that the percentage on the sheets is not the same as the percentage I told you if you stuck around to get your grade. And the reason for that is that the state allows schools to use what's called a square root curve. Now I know you guys have used a curve before in probably some of your classes where everybody gets the same amount of points. A square root curve works a little bit differently. Basically what it does is it takes the square root of your percentage, if your percentage is written as a decimal, and augments your score that way, and it has it actually increases your score somewhat. So let me give you an example. Let's say somebody got a 65%, and normally we don't really consider 65% as a very good score. That's normally a D, but however, if you use a square root curve, get my iPad out here, we write down 65% as a decimal, so 0.65, and then hit the square root key, and then change that to a percentage, and look, all of a sudden your 65% turns into 0.806, which would round up to 81%. And that's a B minus, and that's not too bad. So another example, I'm sure that there's several of you, as a matter of fact I know there's several of you out there that got a 50%, and 50% normally we consider failing, but this is a tough test and everybody understands that it's a tough test. So I do 50% as a decimal, 0.50, do the square root, and boom, all of a sudden you have a 71. Okay, so your answer sheets need to be you need to take the square root to find out exactly what I put down in the grade book. Okay, and these scores will also be the same scores that I'll put down for your EOC test as well, for those of you that are taking it. Okay, so I'll give you a couple seconds here because I'm sure by now those of you with calculators out are probably feverishly checking out what your actual percentage is. And some of you are feeling quite relieved. As a matter of fact, I don't think, well, maybe a couple of you. There may be a couple of you that actually got less than a 60%. So a lot of you are probably saying, hey, you know, great, I passed. Another thing that you got to know about is what really is passing. A passing grade, what we want to get on the EOC after you get the square root is this score right here. This is what they've typically called a passing score, 77% after they take the square root. Okay, that's roughly getting 24 out of the 40 questions correct. So you're shooting for a 77, not a 76. I know there's some people out there got a 76 and you're saying that's good enough. That's not technically passing. You want a 77 or better after you take the square root. Okay, anybody who scored an 89% or better, you're doing excellent. That would actually you be considered advanced, and that would be awesome. We would like to get as many advanced people as possible. Okay, anything between 60 to 76. Now that's basic. Okay, that is a nice way of saying you did not pass. You just have a very, very basic understanding of the skills. So even though you get a 60 and you say, "Oh, great, I passed," okay, you really didn't. So don't be too excited about the 60 to 76. And just as what it is in regular school, 59 and below, they call that below basic, and that is clearly failing. Nobody wants to be there. Okay, I'm not sure more than a couple of people actually would have got a 59 or less. So that's where that is. Okay. Second thing before we get to the test is you're going to be taking these tests on your own school-issued laptop. So hopefully by now you have already downloaded the iTester app. You were supposed to have done that during academic focus. If you have not done it in academic focus, you need to go to your launch pad. First off, let me show you where the iTester app is, and I'm going to have to zoom in on my own computer here. The iTester app is this funny looking thing right down there. Okay, so if you have that folder, you've already downloaded it. Okay, if you have not downloaded it, you need to go to your Launchpad. And you're going to look for self-service. And actually, I have self-service down here. It's this little symbol down here. Everybody see where that is? Right there. Okay, you click on that. And come on. Okay, it's not going to do it now. I'm going to have to close this out. Wait a second. Probably should have this out, but I'm not. What, baby girl?
Oh, never mind.
Anyway, it's not one to work for me now. Click on this, and then you'll find that eye tester over here. You're supposed to have already done that, but just in case you haven't, you need to check with technology, probably check with the librarian to get that done. It needs to be done before coming to class Tuesday, so make sure you get that done before coming to class Tuesday. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on the actual EOC. So we're just going to go in order. 40 questions. Some of them I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about because some of the questions you did quite well on. Other questions we need to spend a little bit extra time on it. For example, this question you guys did quite well on. Question number 1 is, table below gives the diameter of several bacteria cells. Which cell has the smallest diameter? Okay, these are all in scientific notation, and those negative exponents, since the exponents are negative, that means you're going to move the decimal that many places to the left. Hopefully, I know we haven't talked about scientific notation in this class, but it's one of those things that we kind of expect the science classes to cover. So I'm sure you've seen this before. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of you have seen this before because a lot of you got this question correct. So the first choice was this. There's the decimal, so you'd move it back 2 places, fill it in with zeros. And so choice A is 0.036. The correct answer, though, is cell C. It has the smallest diameter. When you take 3.714 times 10 to the negative 4th, move that decimal back 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fill that in with zeros. That's going to give you the smallest decimal value, 0.003, and so on and so forth. So that's the answer, choice C on that one. Question number 2. This one's one of the frustrating ones. This one should definitely have gotten more. There was only about 50% of you got this one right. This has got to be given or gotten more correct answers than any of the other ones. Which graph represents the same pattern as 2x or 4x minus 2y equals negative 8? Quickest way to do this is we're going to use intercepts. We need to use intercepts on this. And remember how to find intercepts. To find the x-intercept, set y equal to 0. And when you set y equal to 0, you have to remember how I did this. When y equals 0, this whole thing is basically going to equal 0. It's going to be gone. Okay, it's not going to be there anymore because negative 2 times 0 is 0. So you're left with 4x equals negative 8. X equals negative 2. So we have an x-intercept of negative 2. And then do the same thing again, except now set x equal to 0, and that's how you're going to get the y-intercept. And when you set x equal to 0, you're going to be left with just negative 2y equals negative 8. Negative 8, come on, quarter. Divide by negative 2. Y equals 4. So you're looking for the equation which has an x value, an x-intercept of 2, and a y-intercept of 4. And which one of those is that? How about negative 2, Mr. Quarter? That makes more sense. When you divide both sides by 4, x equals negative 2. Now which one makes the most sense? And it's choice A. Choice A has an x-intercept of negative 2 and a y-intercept of 4. Question number 3. Again, if you can convince your sub to pause this, maybe he or she will. If not, if we just want to roll through it, again, this is going to be on YouTube. Question 3, not a bad question. I got a lot of people got this one correct. Jim had a goal of riding his bike for an average mean of 90 miles each week. The number of miles he rode each of the first 4 weeks were 87, 81, 92, and 95. Which value is the minimum number of miles he must ride to reach during the 5th week to reach his goal? Well, if he wants to have an average of 90 miles a week for 5 weeks, to find average, you add all the numbers up and divide by how many there are. However, we're going to do in the reverse here. To average 90 miles a week for 5 weeks, 90 miles a week for 5 weeks means we're going to multiply. And that's 450 miles total. To average 90 miles a week for 5 weeks, he's got to bike 450 miles total. Well, he's already biked, let's see, what was it, 87, 81, 92, and 95 miles. So add those together, and when you add those together, you get 8, 10, 15, 9, 17, 26, 355. So in order to get that average, subtract 355 from 450, he's got to go 95 miles, and that is choice C. Question number 4. This is another graphing question. This is one of those, we really haven't talked about the specifics about this. However, we have talked about exponential equations, so when in doubt, draw it out. Best advice I can give you for this: when in doubt, draw it out, and then try to answer the question based on your drawing. Between x equals 0 and x equals 1, which function has a greater average rate of change than y equals 2 to the x power? Which one has a greater average rate of change than y equals 2 to the x power? Well, which one do you think is going to increase faster? Is it going to be negative 2 to the x power? No, that's not going to increase any faster. It's just going to be the same rate. Y equals 2 to the x minus 4. That's going to be the same rate as 2 to the x. It's just shifted over. Remember, x minus 4 is the same as 2 to the x, but it's just shifted. Same with choice D. 2 to the x plus 4 is the same thing except shifted. The correct answer is A. It's y equals 4 to the x power. And I'll go ahead and do a quick graph on these. When we do a t-chart for y equals 2 to the x, remember how to do your t-charts on these. Plug 0 in for x. 2 to the 0 power is 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. 2 to the first is 2. So 2 to the 0, let's see, 0, 1, and 1, 2. We have an asymptote right there. And then y to the 4, y equals 4 to the x power. Same thing. 4 to the 0 power is 1. 4 to the first is 4. So 0, 1 is actually going to be in the same spot. But 1, 4 is up here. So you can see that the blue graph increases faster between x equals 0 and 1 than the black graph. The black graph will increase this much, but on the blue graph it increased that much. So the correct answer on that one, again, was choice A. Question number 5. Question number 5. It's been a while since we've done one of these questions, but we definitely need to remember how to do it. This is one of those questions I can guarantee is going to be on the EOC test. It is almost every year.